Okay, I'm taking a look at the Footstep collection today. It's quite hefty in terms of the content, but it also provides a lot of leverage to tackle a subject that can be notoriously difficult. The sounds and footsteps are also fully exclusive to Strata, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead into the main project now. So this collection is on the larger side, and it has a lot of projects. So initially when you look at it, it's organized in a way to kind of help you sift through that a bit. You can see here it's broken down into folders for each different shoe type. For each shoe type, there's a variety of material. Let's just have a quick listen to the heavy shoe for reference. So the generic footsteps include some surfaces like snow and water where the actual shoe type might be less of a variable. At face value, of course, we have an awesome collection of footsteps in a sound library format, but there's always more than meets the eye inside these projects. I think you're going to be extremely surprised. Let's go ahead and open up just one of the, I'll start with the generic project. We'll go into, let's see, generic grass. And each project, we now have different performance types as well. So let's listen to that. For each performance style, there's 10 standard variations and 6 additional variations. So these just are kind of provide a different flavor, in this case, a little bit more intense or a little bit more oomph for them. Just to stop and think about the big picture of all this, that means we have 7 different performances here, cumulative 112 different variations, and that's just one project. And there are 57 of these projects. Now take a look at the layers. We have a solid layer providing the base for each footstep. There's also wet or dry grass of different lengths, but this is the dry tall project, so this is the only one that's not muted. Good idea would be to mix or blend to your liking and then just save multiple versions. So I'll play around with this a bit. We have dry and short, and maybe I just want a little bit less of those. Something like that maybe. Do a save as. Performances like walking or running have regions set up so you can render the heel and the tip separately. Just for the sake of completeness, we'll listen to each on their own. So here's the heel, tip. So you can tell with the heel, there's a nice solid thud there. So there's a very good distinction between the two. Maybe you noticed this already, but all the tracks and layers on the heel and tip are linked up so that you don't have to scramble between the two to make your mixes. This is really great. Maybe, for example, if you're trying to match up to an animation, then you can set up separate events for the heel and the tip. We also have enrage instances on most of the tracks, so you can adjust placement pretty easily. It's nice if you're trying to consider third versus first person, or just the distance of the player or the character that the footsteps are for. So there's thinning. So that's kind of controlling the cutoff of this low shelf EQ. Dampening. So if you want to reduce some of the high frequencies. Also a low pass filter corresponding to the dull macro. You can also reduce or increase the harshness with this parametric EQ. And now I only, of course, adjusted on just this one track for the dry tall, but you can make the same sort of adjustments and get really granular for all of them. We also have the cinematic layer, which is muted by default. So there's without. If I turn it on, get a nice low frequency sort of thump to add into the footstep. And then there's the additional layer here, which adds a frozen component. So you can have frozen grass, giving you even more flexibility for your environment. So there's the frozen feel turned on. And I also muted the dry stuff. I could pull that back in. So having all these variables really helps to transcend what would otherwise be a sound library and kind of coalesces things into what is now an extremely expressive tool. Just to complete my perspective on this, I wanted to see how quickly I could get a fully operational footstep system set up in Wise. So let's see what happens. All right, so all things considered, it took me about maybe 2.5 to 3 minutes to do that. Granted, I only set up a handful of surfaces. And there's, I didn't do the heel and toe separately, among other things. But you can get a mostly running, functioning footstep system like very quickly, is the point. Yeah, so that wraps it up pretty much for this collection. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see other new collections as they're released and other Strata videos as well. Also, if you haven't yet, be sure to check out the Strata sample collections. They're totally free to use, royalty-free in perpetuity, as are all Strata library sounds, as specified in the EULA, so feel free to use them in any project. So take care, and I will see you in the next Strata video.